The moments we've been waiting for here at the World Games are coming up because we've got two incredible matchups for you to cap pool play here in Birmingham, Alabama at the flying disc competition. Colombia and Australia will get us started in just about 14 minutes, and then later tonight, USA and Canada. The first game is for the pool. Winner gets the top spot in the pool. And the winner also gets the winner of the next game because USA-Canada is not for the pool but for survival. Evan Lepler, Daryl Stanley, Megan Tormey, on behalf of our entire crew, thank you for joining us. We should not count Canada out. We have perhaps been doing that a tad too much, and the way the trajectories have been going, USA and Canada are both fighting for their lives. But let's first talk about Australia and Colombia. How important is this game? What tone is Tom Chulet and the Australians and the Colombians, what tone will they try and set?
I think they both are looking at this and saying, this is our ability to get a semifinals quality game or a finals game and to take care of business. Those teams might also see each other if they both win their semifinal. You got to show something, but not too much. I expect them to be cautious, but come out knowing that their second, third ideas and matchups are actually going to work.
I think for them, a strong defense statement is how they're going to set the tone most emphatically. Colombia is known for working the disc down with enthusiastic ease. I'm sure Sam McGuckin is dying to step in and trying to stop that ease. And I feel like they think if they do that early in the game, they will stand a good chance of maintaining some level of control over this game.
There's McGuckin right there. I mean, he's involved in every highlight here because he can catch and block just nearly everything. He's probably shown himself as one of the strongest downfield players in this tournament.
Australia has not blasted their competition, though. A 1-goal win over France, a 2-goal win over Japan. Colombia has been slightly more convincing. I want to go back to one thing you said about going to your second and third option. How, as a coach, do you mentally embrace the idea of competing but also holding something back?
I think what you do is, you actually roll out what you do want to do later on in the tournament. It's just that you're not going to hold on to it. You get a little bit of a sense of, yes, it works. Great. I got a break that time. Then you come back with something that's a little bit more vanilla, and you don't have to pull that out again. So I think there will be little hints, if we're watching carefully, as to what they're going to do later on in the tournament.
Megan, any particular matchups that you're especially excited about in this Australia-Colombia game?
Well, I am curious to see who they're going to put Sam McGuckin on, simply because I think that he's a strong individual person defender. But I think the thing that he does really, really well is finds himself going into the open space. Honestly, Jose Jimenez is the person I think they're most likely to put him on.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah, they're just strong, fast downfield players. The two of them together will be great. How do you, Megan, see the Australian women defending the pace of Valeria and Manuela Cardenas, and not to shortchange Mosquera and all the Colombian women?
Sure. Well, obviously, I think Kat Phillips is going to take a huge role in stopping the Cardenas sisters, Valeria in particular, simply because of Phillips's overall athletic prowess and ability to read the field and the game incredibly well.
A look at the standings. Things have certainly come together as well as some expected, especially those in Munich and Berlin and Heidelberg, perhaps. Medellin and Sydney folks are also pretty pleased with what they've seen so far. Again, Colombia and Australia are both into the semifinals, and there's been some talk. I mean, it seems crazy to think about losing to avoid USA, who would be the 2 seed, especially with how the Americans have looked. I can't imagine either Colombia or Australia is going to do anything but try and win this game, but there's got to be a little bit of a thought. And again, the Canadians aren't eliminated quite yet either.
I can't see it as a coach. I can't see either team thinking, yeah, you know what, I'm going to lose this game purposely to try to get a hold of USA or
Germany or Canada.
Or Germany. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I really do think that these teams are going to come out of here. Again, maybe not showing a ton, right? They're still going to keep it pretty vanilla, but that doesn't mean they're going to throw or play down or try to engineer a certain matchup. As soon as you do that, you get burned. Don't play with fire.
Megan, this is the third day of competition, third game for each of these teams. This is the hottest window of the day. And look, it's the city of the eternal spring in Medellin. You're not used to mid-upper 90s humidity. Australia's coming from winter. Third game in 3 days. They're not playing 3 games in a day, but how do you feel this battle of attrition will come into play?
You know, I think almost it'll be more of a mental battle than it will be a physical battle, simply because these are athletes who are in peak physical condition. The fact that this is their third game only will mean not much to their body, but having to warm up every single day is a huge mental exercise of getting ready for gameplay. And when you go to a tournament, you get ready, and then you're in that state for the rest of the day, and then you can kind of relax. But here you have to get in it, get out of it, get back in it, get out of it. And so honestly, I think it'll be more of a mental battle, being like, okay, here you are on the third day warming up for one really important game. Can you hone, can you sharpen that mental acuity?
Obviously, both these teams have a cohesiveness and a togetherness that we have seen. Daryl, real quick, can you talk about the stylistic differences that you've seen over the past 2 days and how you think Australia and Colombia will tangle with one another stylistically?
Yeah, Australia, you're going to see a lot of back of the stack power cutting, and if they don't get that, the second look is somebody from the front of the stack going deep. That has led to a lot of athletic downfield plays by Andrews, McGuckin, Tullett. That verticality, as I've been saying throughout this tournament, is one of the major differences. The Colombians, on the other hand, are going to take a lot of outside edge attacks. They dump, they swing, and then they use that change of field to try to get big yardage by moving it very quickly. They play at the highest tempo in this entire tournament, which, as you said, the mental physical battle of keeping that tempo up is really the biggest challenge for Colombia as they continue to progress throughout this extremely hot tournament with only 14 players.
Yeah, well said. All right, Hannah Pendlebury and Rael Toshnerova are going to have the call in just a moment, but first, some business to take care of. Daryl, you were the only one of the three of us that got the last game right, riding with Japan. Who you taking here, Australia or Colombia?
I think Colombia. I think the Colombians are a little bit too nimble, a little bit too quick, and I think they're going to play underneath the shadowy figures of the tall Australian team.
I'm also going to pick Colombia. So much World Games experience, so much chemistry built together over the years, and as you said, a speed that is unmatched. I think Colombia is taking this game.
I was leaning towards Colombia as well. However, I'm going to pick Australia. I don't necessarily think they have a better chance to win the tournament, but I think in this particular game, with how they've played over the past 2 days, not sure we've seen their best game yet, but I'm a little worried about Colombia's ability to match up with Andrews and McGuckin and some of the other bigger Australian men. I think the Aussie women are up to the task. It's going to be a great game. I think it's going down to the wire. I think Colombia has a slightly better chance to win the tournament, but I'm taking Australia over Colombia. Create a little dissension here on the set. Never hurts either. All right, let's get it to the duo calling the action. Hannah Pendlebury and Rael Toshnerova. Enjoy the game. We'll see you at half.
Every 4 years, there is a new opportunity. A chance for the world's best players to take center stage. A chance for glory, for teamwork, for upsets, for gold. 8 countries are sending their 14 finest to Birmingham, Alabama for the opportunity to reach the pinnacle of ultimate. The 2022 World Games start right now.
Welcome to day 3 of the flying disc action of the World Games 2022. We are solidifying the standings here in Birmingham, Alabama, USA, with the last pool play for the 2 teams in front of us. Squeezing the final droplets of juice out of the Pool B lemon, it is Colombia versus Australia. Hannah Pendlebury and Rahel Toshnerova in the booth with you this fine day. Rachel, tell me what this game means for these 2 teams.
3 words, Hannah. Seeding, seeding, seeding. These two teams have one major decision before them. Do we want to head to semis against the German team, well-oiled German machine, or would we prefer a North American opponent? Whoever loses goes against Germany. The victor of this game will face the winner of today's last game of the day, which can be either the first World Games champion, Canada, or the current reigning World Games champion, the US. Will this affect the team's approaches to the game? I guess we're about to find out.
Well, we certainly have plenty of talent across the fields. We have the rosters in front of us there. I have to say, I've been really impressed by the big men of Australia in those power positions. Thus far, the Colombians have played a lot of shorter statured teams. They've been able to take advantage of the height mismatch, opening up the release valve when they need to. Extremely powerful throwers, like the likes of Valeria Cardenas. So let's have a look at what the key aspects of this game might be.
So, like you said, win-male matchups for Colombia, fast-paced hexagon offense. The Colombians have worked on this offense for a few months now, perfecting it, making it their own. For Australia, you've mentioned big man verticality. Will we see their zone? That is one of the questions. It would be a nice tactical move. I've been enjoying the Australians working on the different matchups. Sometimes even we see female matchups guarding their male opponents, etc. Would be interesting if it will have any effect on the Colombian game. We have seen previously Australia struggle a little bit against the French defense earlier in the tournament, really shutting them down effectively, shutting out their first options and sometimes even the second ones.
Well, they also managed to slow down the Japanese as well, who again like that sort of fast movement, agility type stuff. So conditions here on the field, currently it is sunny. We've had some lightning affected activity here in Birmingham, but a light breeze, only 1 mile an hour, so we should get the full throwing finesse from both sides. Talking about those height mismatches in the zone, as you see Mish Phillips and Kat Phillips there, actually, no, I take that back. That's the lovely 19 shirt of Liv Carr, but players like Mish Phillips in the back of the zone, playing that deep, having such great reads on the disc, allows the Australians to put their rather large gents at the front in the marking area. So that should be spicy and exciting to watch.
As you said, Hannah, we have ultimate sisters on both sides, the Cardenas and the Phillips. Who's gonna play it better?
Oh, we'll have to find which are the better pair of sisters. I mean, to be fair, they're all pretty good, and it's very exciting occasionally to see them playing together, of course, because Mish Phillips has appeared, I believe, back in the World Clubs of 2018 with Revolucion of Medellin, Colombia. So, bit of, there you go. There's the connection between these players there. Mosquera getting a bit of a cuddle from Snail and Manu as well. Such a delight to see these teams, and that's such a theme of this sport, the self-refereed nature and the way these tournaments work. They're very short formats, usually playing 2 or 3 games a day over the course of a weekend, but longer for the World Championships. That mixing and that camaraderie is really so apparent across the fields.
We've seen some great game out of the Japanese doing their little scoring celebrations. I am expecting more this game out of the Colombians. They will start on offense. 4 men on the line. We see Anna Rogacki, the coach of this Australian team, known for her emphasis on mental training and team togetherness, getting her last instructions into her players as they get ready for the first pull. Here is Torres grabbing onto the hands of her teammates as Colombia raise their arms in preparedness for this matchup for seeding.
Rogacki, as you say, having brought a little bit of visualization and mental preparedness. A slightly younger Australian team with First-time representations for Tasmania and West Australia out on the field today in not their gold and green, but the navy blue look. And the Colombians, of course, in those spicy yellow shirts as we get things underway. And it looks to be a zoney, saggy type defence for those athletes from the land down under. Nice punching through, easy stuff. Yuna Cartagenas and Torres working well together. Ramirez. Nice slow movement around the back. You can see them just moving it nicely between each other. The Colombians really liking those thin spaces, but nice slicing pass to the far sideline behind the cup. And now we see the Aussies melt to match defence, person coverage. Ramirez. Oh, nice find there. Cantor steps straight out of bounds, but fakes the inside, dishes across. You'll notice how the Colombians really do like to keep the disc moving. Torres faking the over the top, but there is nobody really in the deep space in the zone. No one really able to score. Most players clustered outside.
I think they're trying to isolate Jimenez, but it is not him. It is Simon Ramirez with the first score. And a shimmy, a little bit of salsa, or should it be cumbia or else reggaeton? Either one of them, it looked great down there in the end zone. First score for Colombia.
And a nice, clean, easy hold for the Colombians. I tell you what, Rachel, it sounds like you have an encyclopedic knowledge of Latin American dance styles. If Colombia win this, are you going to go on to perhaps on social media and give us a little bit of flair, bit of dancing yourself?
100%. I can definitely promise that. Absolutely no problem. Maybe just relive some of these moments. I'm going to start with this one by Ramirez. Great first offensive hold, very steady out of Colombia. They set up in their spread out formation. Towards the end, once Australia transitioned into one-on-one D, I really thought they were trying to isolate Jimenez in the end zone. But like I said, eventually he ended up making space for somebody else's cut. That works too. Good, solid offense. We saw a couple of nice points like that in their previous game.
Mosquera there winding up for one of her iconic huge poles, and that one's going to reach into the end zone. Such a powerful athlete at the moment, having a fantastic season too, which we'd hope for in a World Games rotation. And Australia looking to respond with offense of their own. Dom Chula in the centre of the field, finding a nice fading pass across. Gan in the underspace. And a little stoppage here, perhaps a pick downfield.
Definitely. So far, very tight match D by the Colombians.
Alex Gan with a double glove approach. Of course, we're drier conditions now, but the humidity is causing some issues. Some players covering their hands with magnesium and chalk and all sorts of stuff to make sure they can get their paws around the disc. That is a big old swing, but well run down by the 19 of Liv Carr. Gan across to Phillips, low reaching grab, but doesn't manage to come up with the goods. And the first break opportunity for Colombia. You see them streaming through, good spacing, tight around the handless, giving themselves easy resets. Oh, huge pressure, nearly getting the run through D. Moving and chopping around. Stall count is starting to rise, but punches it through. Cartagena with a big arcing flick across. Duque. Oh, and a nice slice through to his teammate. It's Ivan Alba with the goal and the first break for Colombia.
35-year-old Alba out of Bogota, one of the few players not out of Medellin for this Colombian squad. Joy's riding his bike when he's not playing Ultimate, but he was riding that break side wave after that turnover, slight overthrow from Colombia. Good opener by Cartagena. And Duque with a follow-up to Alba. Colombia with a clean hold.
And a clean break, just one turnover so far this game, as you see Mauricio Moore there in the back of the shot in his iconic hat. Love to see the hat. It's such a baller look. But Rob Andrews there, having had a fantastic tournament so far, the big man for Team Australia. See if they can engage him in the deep space after that error from Cat Phillips. So you'd expect her to make that bid and clutch the disc. So I think she'll probably be slightly disappointed with herself. But another big pull from the women of Colombia. This one off the paws of Valeria Cardenas. Prentice, centre of the field, has options, takes Andrews. Seen him being given a lot of the underneath space because he is such a threat downfield. The pick will pause us. Hands in. Disc in hands of Tulip. Cupcake.
Pick.
Nice inside flick. And again, oh, but opens up the around and pops it perfectly into the break side for Sally Yu.
This time, the Australians connect on all their passes, be it through the break side, be it for the continuation into the end zone. I think this is really going to be a battle of the coaches. Moore and Rogacki, top of the game there, top of the sport, both innovative leaders in ultimate. That was a pass through the break side, so no wonder Sally Yu was open, but great footwork by her. 27 years of age, right-handed, 170 centimeters tall. She moved to America for college and joined her college team. That's how she started her ultimate career.
Indeed, but now playing for the club side Ellipsis Ultimate, which most of the Australian women on this roster are from. A couple of the chaps as well, such an iconic club coming out of Australia, but great focus as well from you. Oftentimes players with that much time to look at the disc will have a bit of an error of focus and concentration, thinking too much about how they're going to catch the disc.
The only one not with a club team on this Australian squad is Mish Phillips. We said she will be playing with Revolution at WCC. Currently no club assigned in Australia, besides the Spin Doctors, where she plays with her family.
So Colombia coming out on offense again. The Aussies will be hungry for a break to level us and put us back on serve, but at the moment, in front. Lovely, nice fakes up the field. Cantor across to Alba. All of the Colombians running with their arms in front saying, pick me, I'm free. Stall count getting very high. I think we might get a contested stall out there. Pile O on the mark, or perhaps a foul. Certainly Australia doing great containment work here as Alba stretches across to the far side of the field. And a bit of sagging and poaching from the Aussie defence. Torres in the centre, has the momentum and she's going to launch it deep, but who is there in the back? It's just the Australian shirt, the number 99 of Alex Shepherd, who closes the door on Cantor.
I think this was really the first deep throw we have seen out of Torres. She usually likes to play with her break side throws and around the disc, just short passes, really get stuff moving, but she saw the space. She thought she would take the opportunity. It just wasn't perfect.
Well, this is a nice opportunity, this game, for both teams to actually have a little bit of the pressure taken off. They've both qualified for the semi-final bracket. It's just a case of who the opposition will be. So this is a nice chance to hone and polish things. At the moment, neither team are really looking flawless on offense under the hot pressure and the hot sun, as we see an absolute ripper from the hand of Carlo. Goes up early, does Georgia Regan-Griffiths, but not to be.
Colombia with a chance to redeem themselves. Lots of pressure on that catch by Cantor. He gets it anyway.
Absolutely, and you can see how tightly and how much the Australians want to win the disc back. Another big pass, and this time it's going to be gold as good. That's Andres Ramirez with the score.
And what a great put by Torres. You see that this is what the mental toughness is about. You get a mistake, you forget right about it, and you just put another one up, and we see a hug. The Colombian team clearly very satisfied and happy about that last point.
Well, it was a great throw on the first instance. It was just the fact that the Australians had better position. The second release has the separation and takes it.
Defender wasn't expecting it whatsoever, and Ramirez gets high, nicely early.
Yeah, there's enough of a defensive pressure that he has to go for it. Can't be sloppy and kind of let the other player come in and make a play on it. You do have to be aggressive and make sure you catch the disc. But a lovely bit of separation downfield and a great second put from Torres.
It was actually a great connection. Andres Ramirez comes from the male side of things for Colombia, for Medellin more specifically, plays for the club Evolution. That is actually coached most of the time also by Torres. So
you do see Torres often in a coaching role for Revolution, the female unit. Lovely to see her out the field though. Some were saying she might be a little bit past her best, but she's still got every inch of her speed that she used to. That first step so devastating as she takes off. At the moment, the Aussies looking to launch themselves forward, currently down that one break with Colombia in front. Ducking across. Nice work down the sideline. A little bit of a low catch, but still fine enough. And a huge hammer across the goal line. And it's going to be good for the Aussies. Prentice with the goal. And that was a sensation of a throw.
I don't have words for this type of play. So courageous, but acres of space on the receiver. They recognized eventually that Colombia was forcing middle, meaning that they were trying not to allow any passes up the line, but it really does open up the other side of the field. And if the receiver does a good job seeing that space, then they can bait the thrower for that throw, and that is just what happened in this last possession. First get the break to the sideline to Tulit, and he winds up, and the speed on that is just incredible. And Prentice just collects easily with a clap catch.
I'll tell you what, Tom Tulit, probably one of the deepest throwing bags, deepest toolkits. You've got wrenches, you've got spanners, hammers, screwdrivers, everything in that mixer. And it's a delight to see him take that shot across the field. A visionary throw, if we can say that.
And Prentice ready for any emergency catch. She is a doctor after all.
We do have a lot of medical students who end up playing Ultimate Frisbee.
That's right.
Lots of nations you do start playing when you are at university, and of course medics are there for quite some time, as you'd expect them to be if they're poking around in people's squishy bits. So Colombia looking to respond. Nice work, reaching grab, Maria Forero. Just punch to the inside to Cartagena. High releases. The Colombians just kind of jogging through, not really running at full speed all over the field. Need to play it casually, nice and easy. The close spacing making that work quite nicely. You can see the Aussies trying to switch on and off to try and cause confusion in these tight spaces. Big old mark up front. Cartagena left without a mark, a dangerous thing to do for such a capable thrower. Look at the work of Rob Andrews there, the big man just blocking off all of the under close options. Wise stuff. Is she going to take the inside channel? She does. Torres punches it in for the goal, and that is Julia Duque with the score.
When she decides to go for it, Hannah, she will get it to where she wants to. That was a lovely break. First, we saw her catch the disc on the sideline, wait for her teammates to set up in whatever set play they were going for, sort of clean up the end zone, gather in the middle to allow for the space that was needed for the passes. She goes for it the second time, and Duque with the score. Excellent stuff out of Colombia.
I love the way Torres moves the mark around when she's preparing to make that throw. You can really see her shaking her whole body from side to side. We were talking about some dance moves. I'm sure that probably pays in her favour when she's getting the enjoyment factor after these games. But of course, there'll be a little bit extra enjoyment if the Colombians can see themselves with their first gold medal around their neck. A 10 years in the making campaign after getting the host bid back in Cali in 2013.
It would complement their yellow goldish jerseys nicely. Here is Mosquera preparing for one of her signature poles.
Absolutely. The new rule for this tournament, for the World Federation level games, is that gendered pulling, where the highly represented genders, so 7-a-side sport, the number of players on the field. Oh, great redemption potentially. Oh, there we go. Tulit just turns on, puts his glasses on and makes sure that one is kept for the Aussies. Gan now. Plenty of space available on the break side, and there the disc goes. Phillips. Nice. Zippy. Tignagukin. Puts it out into the space. The arms have to go in front. Liv Carr snaffles the disc in front of Mosquera.
Excellent throw out of the Australians. Towards the second part of that game, you could see the signature forehand out of Kat Phillips. She likes to bend slightly to the side to really get that proper positioning of the disc and really engaging her core. She has so much snap on her throws. We'll see that on the replay. Gan goes to Phillips with the wide swing. And so much snap on that. As they get low. Continuing through the open side. Yeah, Jimenez not really trying to... Yeah, it must have been Carr just outrunning Mosquera into the open side, really.
Well, it was a pretty tight window. Mosquera definitely in the window where she could have made a layout bid play, but I'm loving the trust of the Colombians in their female matchups right now.
Liv Carr started to work as a doctor this year. When she was on a night shift, she would finish her 13-hour shift and then go to the park and do a solo throwing set, and then go to the gym before going to bed. And she would do that most days whilst on a night shift.
That is the life of a shift worker. You've got to put those hours in. As someone who lives with a shift worker, it's just a bit of a topsy-turvy schedule. But at the moment, the Colombians in Callahan County after an excellent pull from the Australian side. Nice moving around the back, though. Calm and patient as they've been so far during this game. Ramirez popping back. Galdenas in the centre of the field. To say one of the two twin sisters who we saw celebrate their 18th birthdays back on the fields in Wrocław back in 2017. Oh, and just a bit of lack of focus that the disc gets tipped out of the hands of Andres Ramirez. Kyle O for Australia. Nice find upfield, dishing it back. Oh, and it's another big hammer from the Team Australia's hands. And another goal for Rob Andrews. He adds ones to his impressive stat total.
We're tied at 4, Hannah. What an incredible start of the game. I said that this was going to be a tactical battle, and it has been so far. Australia doing an excellent job just trying to isolate different players, taking aggressive throws like those 2 hammers and those 2 last points. We'll see that again, and this is a turnover by Ramirez. And I feel like Australia have been poaching off of him for quite some time. Not sure exactly what the reason was, but seeing that turnover, I might be getting an idea. Huge hammer for Andrews.
Well, it worked the first time, so clearly the Aussies are giving us an aerial show. Perhaps they'll put a little smoke can on the back of it next time so we can see the path it's taken through the air. But yeah, just a lack of focus there from Ramirez. It was a bizarre moment because I sort of thought that maybe someone had snuck through and kind of caused a little bit of balance issue, but just...
I think it was just sweat on his palms, really.
Yeah, just bizarre, but an opportunity not squandered by the Aussies.
For those who were wondering, we did check the rules to find out how it is with using some anti-slippery substances on the player's hands. Apparently it is allowed. The annex of the rules solely forbids it if there should be some type of substance that would stay on the disc, but a huge defensive pressure by the Australians.
Yeah, no ball tampering, no deflate gate here. Although I don't know how you deflate a Frisbee, really. But the Colombians are moving now like a knife through butter. This is the sort of offense they really like to play. You see them giving and going between each other. Nice and smooth and easy does it. Or even try and keep up with the names right now. Oh, a nice lefty dish there into the hands of Ramirez. Torres now. Oh, going to open up the around side, and it is a goal for Jonathan Cantor.
Cantor takes off his mask in celebration, one of the rare moments He wears that to protect himself after a previous injury. He does look quite monumental on the field, but there he is with a smiley face on.
We talk about a game face. That's a proper, like, battle mask. Although I imagine it probably has some curious tan lines if you wear that for a whole weekend of playing Ultimate. Or in this case, an entire week.
So again, that interesting Australian defense where you sometimes see gender mismatches around the handling space as well as downfield. This time it doesn't really bear any fruits, but it has startled Colombia in some of the previous points. Colombia staying up 5-4 in this game. Anna Rogacki pulling another one of her tricks out of her coaching book.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more, actually. So what do you think the Aussies are doing then? You're talking about the gender mismatches. What are they trying to achieve with that?
Well, I think they're focusing on players that they want. They want some of the players to either get the disc, and so they want some of the players not to get the disc. So they're just probably trying to target what they believe is the weakest link on the team.
Well, I'll tell you what, there aren't many weak links on this field in general. There's only been 2 turnovers this entire game. Sorry. Per team, sorry. Looking at my stat sheet. I can't do maths, apparently. Thankfully, I can in my day job. But this is great stuff from the Aussies. McGuckin with the disc. Hot mark. Intense stuff from Colombia. Chulet now. Oh, and chooses a blade where he might have chosen a hammer before and easily run down, just slowly sauntering backwards. Kat Phillips with the goal and a nice hold for Australia as we find the rhythm of this first half.
Not a great idea to leave Kat Phillips open in the end zone. There were 2 defenders nearing her, but the disc curved perfectly. No chance, really, to get a hand on that whatsoever. And Colombia sticking with match D, but also towards the open side, and the Aussies have had no problem finding their teammates in the break side.
Yeah, it's almost like the Aussies are just kind of like doing that thing of waiting until their defender's not really paying attention, getting distracted by the play that's happening, and then they're just sort of like quietly going towards the closed side of the field and then being like, hey, hit me. There's no wind. And that is playing massively into the hands of the Aussies.
Great captain's point. Tom Chulet being one of the captains, Kat Phillips being the other one for this World Games squad. Both players have attended the World Games previously. Kat Phillips is actually a 3rd-time croc, as the Australians like to call themselves. They called a timeout. The Crocs called a timeout.
Well, it's sort of a thing from our friend nations down by Australia, the Aussies and the Kiwis. All of their national squads have their own unique names and identities, which I really like.
It is quite cute, but I really wonder if the Phillips sisters were just meant to be on the Crocs team, given their mom's name is Croc, their last name.
Oh, well, that's perfect, isn't it? It's written in the stars, as some might say, but at the moment there's lots of stars out here on the field. See the Colombians there, Torero, Cardenas, that was Cantor, who's having a great game so far.
Definitely. Cantor replaced Jose Manuel Rosero last minute, but he's been proving very useful for this Colombian side.
At the moment, it's an exciting game. We're seeing lots of expansiveness, as sort of predicted, really, at the beginning of this game, for the Aussie side, and lots of flow from Colombia, playing that sort of hexy, give-go, quick movement style play.
The flying disc ultimate rules, of course, preventing the players from voluntarily throwing a game. And I believe, seeing what I'm seeing on the field right now, I don't think any of these teams would have done that regardless of the rule.
Well, the Colombians have been pressed in the pool match. Not really been squeezed that hard. I made the joke at the beginning of like squeezing the last drop of juice out of this pool, but this is really where these two teams, this is a preparation game for the business end as they advance into the medal bracket and hopefully go home with a nice bit of weighty metal around their necks to show and pay off the hard work. And that is an absolute sensation of an inside flick that must have come off the hands of Cardenas. pop in. Torres into the end zone. An easy goal for Maria Forero after that sensational flick.
Haven't seen much of Torero so far for Team Colombia, but she gets this one for them. We just spoke about Cantor. He ran that down so quickly. Great closing speed on that huck. I really hope that we get to see a replay of it. It was
dynamite, absolute dynamite. It's a bomb forehand flick. I've said, right, is that am I going to look silly now? No, I'm not. That is the pause of Valeria Cardenas.
Jacks it into Cantor, almost into the end zone. Pop to Torres, and Torres finding Maria Forero in the end zone. Maria Forero out of Bogota, but currently lives in Medellin, 29 years of age, only 160 centimeters tall. Now she actually plays for Revolution.
Well, it makes sense, you know, go and play some premier women's ultimate. Of course, I think actually credit to the Colombian side. I think they do an excellent job of really integrating their players that are largely appearing in the Open and the women's division at the club elite level. They don't really seem to have the issues of lack of chemistry or lack of connections. Of course, the consistency of their squad does help. We're seeing so many faces, in fact, exactly the same female lineup, but one from the World Games squad back in 2017.
Action from the Colombian huddle. They seem pleased with themselves.
We just saw the Aussies take a timeout. I mean, you get one timeout per team per half, 2 in the entirety of the game. So it's you know, we're 1 point away for Colombia for taking the half, these games to 13, half at either 45 minutes or at the first team to score 7 points. Can't help but think for both sides that was an opportunity to take a defensive tactical adjustment to snag that break.
So like we said, Colombia so far sticking with good old match D, trying to put a lot of pressure on the Australians, but I think that is kind of what they're used to, and there could be something more.
Well, with two vastly different styles, this is going to be a chess match. A pull play for the Aussies, isolating in the deep space off that first cut. But Phillips on the under, lashes it through, almost through the mark to McGucket.
I wouldn't want to be there catching it, really. They seem almost painful for the palms of the receiver.
It's like they're angry with the Frisbee right now. But Juliet on the far side, using the lateral space, our team Aussie.
Hit call stops the play.
Juliet matching up against Ivan.
Turn one.
He's a little bit casual, getting us back in play. Prentice isolated directly in front. Colombia with a relatively flat mark. Australia seems to be moving it around the field with pretty decent ease. Not really making many yards. Good containment.
Montaña taps the disc back into play.
Stacked very deep, loving the matchup of Phillips and Manuela Cardenas. Oh, nice punch. Oh, you see the look of Kyle Owens. He thought that one was for him, but it's not. It's for Liv Carr. Juliet.
I think he thought about thought about the hammer for a second.
I was thinking about the hammer, frankly. We didn't have the separation as we've had before. The Colombians starting to tighten it up in the backfield after getting caught sleeping a couple of times. But a pick.
Loving the Colombian sideline, getting involved, really pumping up the defense. Seemed like a forced middle, but they might transition, getting closer to the end zone now into a one-side force.
Well, they've broken around quite nicely, so actually forcing middle even into the end zone doesn't necessarily hurt you, especially with the formation of that vertical stack. Players almost in a line in the centre of the field. Try and isolate the space on, well, open up the space on either side.
So lots of stoppages in this last possession for Australia. We have one more.
It seems to still be off of Gan and Jimenez. A nice punch into the middle. Cardenas trying to make up the ground. Good switch off there. Love how both these teams are happy to have players from either gender matching each other.
Cardenas now guarding Tulet in the handler space, but another pick stops the play. Seems like the Colombians are learning as they go from the Australian textbook.
Well, hopefully we can see things cleaned up a little bit of discipline in the movement downfield. Because the stuttery way in which they're being forced to play offense is not ideal.
We've seen Manu Cardenas get a D on a man before, but here is the second switch.
An excellent communication from Colombia. And another pick. We still haven't managed to clean things up downfield.
I think Australia is forced to improvise a little bit in the end zone there, being really shut down on the normal set options that they would go for.
It's also, I think, the agility of the defense. It's really hard to get away from each other, so you're having to work really, really, really hard. So you see Alex there, Gan working every effort. Nice toe in from Tulet. Everyone very close to Tulet right now. Is to find a reset valve and opens up the space with a big arm. And it's McGuckin on the far side. Tighter match from Julio Duque, but a lovely use of the close side of the field from the Australian captain.
Chula did not have much on that last throw, but that's what makes a great handler. A great handler. He just goes
9, 10.
into the end zone.
It's out. 1.
Well, there's a contested stall out.
8, 2, 10.
I think there's a chat about perhaps the last couple of numbers out of the mouth of Ivan Alba were a little bit fast. Hasty, but it's going to come back in on 8.
Luckily for the game advisor, we have the game advisors who do come to the rescue in case the discussions get a bit too long. Chula taps it back in.
He's going to do the same throw to the same side to the same player. It's an action replay for Sam McGuckin.
It did not even have to be as fast as the first one.
And
Clearly, he knew
dialed
it was
in as
on.
well. Dialed in. There were 2 defenders that time. He knew exactly what Tulet wanted to do.
So let's have a look at the replay of the successful second attempt. Tulet steps out wide, winds up, and his teammate able to keep his feet in.
So that you're not miserable as Colombia right there. The defense was good. You got one of the best throwers in the world to the very edge of the stall count by shutting down all the options so close. I think the Australians were perhaps a little bit too close. Could have benefited from having somebody outside of the end zone, maybe. Just sat in the, just take the negative yard pass. But Galaxy point here, Rachel.
That's right. That is the destiny of defensive players. Sometimes you just have to accept that you've done all you could and you still weren't able to force a turnover out of the other team. Galaxy point here in the Colombia-Australia matchup for the seeding. Who will it be that they face off in the semi-final? Australia, get ready to pull.
And of course, Galaxy point is a little bit of jargon. We do love our Frisbee jargon because if the teams are tied, these games are 13, so if it's 12-12, we'd call it universe point. So this is Galaxy point, like a miniature universe point, if you will. But of course, if the Aussies can take this one, the D-line, see Andrews there getting ready for the pull, they can snag a break here. It will give them a lot of momentum coming into the second stage of this game. It's a nice, deep ball. Cardenas fielding it well to Cantor. Easy swinging round the back. Side stack, the name of the game, to get us underway for Colombia. And a big ripper of a backhand separation downfield. Oh, huge effort to try and snag the disc away and prevent Valeria Cardenas. Rob Andrews on the mark, but he cannot prevent the over-the-top score. I think that might have been a scuba, and the Colombians take half.
Cantor takes his team into the second half with a last offensive hold. Excellent stuff out of the Colombians. A very easy offensive point. Let's see the replay. What a put by Valeria Cardenas. She's been...
No, that's Cartagena. Finding
Cardenas. And Cardenas, yeah, under lots of pressure by the Australian defense, but absolutely does not lose composure and pops up that scuba to Cantor.
It's a bizarro look from Rob Andrews to take away the back throw. It'd be nice to see him a little bit further to the side, but that's going to close us out for the action on the first half. Colombia lead Australia 7 points to 6.
That's about as good as it gets for a half of Ultimate here at the World Games. Nearly perfect precision from both teams. Any concern that these two teams would not be trying to win? I think we can toss that aside. What a half. 2 turns per side, 1 break per side. We are on serve. Colombia leads 7-6. Australia receives to start the second half. Darryl, where do you want to start?
Oh, my. I'm so disappointed I ever left out Cartagena from the list of Colombian female players. She is on fire with her throws right now, along with Valeria, who we obviously mentioned at the start. The two of them are finding their spots. It's a great game so far.
Yeah, and we also have to talk about Ale Torres, who is getting the offensive movement finished by throwing, I believe, 3 assists. I really love what Australia is trying to do to stop the movement of the Colombian women. They are putting on zones, they are putting male matching players on Valeria, and the Colombians are finding a way to get this through.
We've seen both teams try the cross-gender matchups, which is one of the intricacies of the World Games that's so fascinating. What are you seeing in that regard?
So to me, I'm noticing they're coming about because specifically Australia is leaving Rob Andrews. He's not guarding either Ramirez, Andres, or Simon, and they're using that ability to double cover on the open side and saying, hey, you've got to make some throws. We saw Andres made an uncharacteristic mistake after being left open like that, and I think that's why you're seeing some of those cross-gender matchups.
We also saw Manu Cardenas on Tom Truitt in the backfield, and it feels like she could guard anybody in the world in that space.
Well, somebody has to guard Tom Truitt. I mean, he's been putting on a clinic out here. Every time he grabs that disc, you can see him eyeing the end zone and putting up one of the greatest hammers we've ever seen on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah, he is on fire this game, and he is really dictating a lot of the Australian energy with his aggression in cutting and putting the disc with pristine precision.
McGuckin, it was funny. They got the chance to throw 2 times in a row. After the contested stall, he points and he says, give it to me again. Tom obliges him, and he's able to hit him in the back of the end zone. Wonderful stuff.
Again, a look at the first half stats. Each team had 2 turnovers. Colombia with just the 1 break chance. Australia with the 2. What's the key to the second half for each team? What's this game going to come down to? Obviously, it feels like a very small margin.
Yeah, if Australia had to not cover Ramirez in order to get a turnover, and to get kind of lucky that he did not complete a throw that he's going to complete most of the time.
It just slipped out of his hands.
Yeah. For that to be the only mistake that they were able to generate, it's hard to say. These are just 2 great offenses going to work.
I think that one of the things that Australia could do defensively is maybe tighten up that zone a little bit. They're giving just enough space for Colombia to dish around in before they are able to break open. Maybe if they tighten that window, Colombia's going to have a harder time playing the game that they want. And on the flip side, for Colombia defensively, you stop Tom Truitt, you're going to stop a lot of movement.
It's not like you can just force Valeria Cardenas downfield and expect her to not do damage there, because the last point of the half, she caught the huck and then threw the score from the warning track. What a half of Ultimate. Colombia leads 7-6. We are on serve. The Aussie Crocs have the disc after the quick break. It is Hannah and Rael to have the second half call after this.
Birmingham, Alabama, the stage for the final pool play match between these two nations, Colombia and Australia. At the moment, the Colombians are ahead by 1 point. The game has gone back to serve after 2 breaks apiece. The Colombians taking the first claw mark, and then the Australians responding after a rare error. Andres Ramirez just with a bit of a lack of focus. So it's going to be an exciting second half. The business end of this match, Rahel, who's your money on right now? If we were betting women.
I do not drink, Hannah. I do not go out. I do not bet. I would rather watch Mosquera all day pull for the Colombians to open up the second half. Let's go.
Oh, trying to goad you into taking sides here. Cannot be done. At the moment, Tom Tulitt's having the game of his tournament so far. Not necessarily the point you want to peak, but we are enjoying getting a look at some of his throwing prowess as he takes the centre of the field with disc in hand. Finds Prentice. Nice pop. Oh, and a lovely shot into the end zone. Sorry, that is Prentice with the assist for Rob Andrews. Calls it good just in the final little edges of the pitch.
Lots of pressure from the Colombians. Ramirez was there. Here we see the Aussies celebrating. Lots of smiles, keeping the game tight. Let's have a look at the replay. I would almost call that as a travel, but great footwork on the catch. Good awareness for the score. Only 4 turnovers so far, Hannah, in this game. And it seems like we will continue with clean hold offenses.
And that is what the Aussies wanted to do to start this one off, just punch it in. I like how Rob Andrews left a little divot in the grass at the back of the end zone there. And Prentice, of course, lodging that one into the end zone after getting the dish from Georgia Egan-Griffiths. Getting those 2 tall Aussie ladies a little bit mixed up here in the booth.
So from what I'm seeing, I feel like the Australians are doing a much better job as long as they are lined up laterally across the pitch. It gives them a little bit more room to breathe. They are able to generate better spacing for their cuts out of that formation whenever they transfer to the normal or vertical stack. They seem to struggle a bit. We've had a lot of picks in the last point, but here's Colombia.
Ramirez launches an inside flick to Cartagena, and she's going to get it into the goal. Nice eyes on the prize, run down with 2 Australian defenders trailing.
Talking about the athletic capabilities of Cartagena, as well as Mosquera, who is joining her in the picture right now for the high five. Both of these strong female role models are actually active in the sports field professionally, both doing a lot of coaching, besides ultimate, also strength and conditioning. And it is really showing on the field, and it has been showing on the field throughout this tournament.
With the Colombian women, they're really renowned for being such throwing monsters. There's not really any else word for it. They're just a nightmare to have to match up against, because if you let them have the disc, you're going to be regretting it quite quickly. So it's actually quite smart for the Colombian women to be hitting that deep space downfield, because when you're having to, as a defender, you have a choice. You have to take one thing away. You cannot take both away when it's this level of elite athleticism, because you're not going to really have much of an advantage in terms of speed. So you can't recover necessarily that well. So you have to take one away. And at the moment, it seems like they're trying to take away the throwing arms of the Colombian women, and they're just using their legs to run deep.
We have finished the last game we streamed on Universe, and I'm really hoping we can get this far with this one as well. Tulitt goes to collect the errant pole that went out of bounds from Colombia. It happens. We've seen them.
Happens to the best of us, you know. You and I are both we pull occasionally when we play. It's easily done. No one's perfect. But I agree with you, Rachel. If we get this one going all the way to the full stretch, that would be absolutely marvellous. 25 points, please, Colombia and Australia. And that, of course, would then be the game decided on just the toss. Whoever came out by luck, as we see Julep run that down and make a huge grab to keep the disc alive for his team and punch in the offensive hold. But as we spoke before, this game is just about position in the pools. Do you want to play Germans or do you want to play North Americans? It's going to be a hard, grueling fight to the top regardless.
Second pick on the pitch. Again, as soon as Australians transfer to that vertical stack, they seem to be running into each other's way.
For those that are not familiar with flying disc sport for ultimate Frisbee, unlike in basketball, you're not allowed to use picks to your advantage. You're allowed to set up your cut around other players on the field. Julep looking for options upfield, finds McGuckin into the underspace. Dishing around.
Again, we see that forced middle match defense out of the Colombians.
Well, it makes sense because it's going to squeeze out the sideline. I think that might have been out of bounds for Kat Phillips. She'll have a discussion and ask the game advisor.
We already see the Colombians moving downfield.
I didn't have a good perspective on that. I was backing up, so I don't have a good perspective on it.
Well, the two players discussing together, and Kat Phillips will give the disc to the Colombians.
I think the Colombian defense really stepped up a notch on the match D, and it finally worked out for them.
Like you say, trying to close off those breaks and really force the Aussies to play in the centre of the field.
Andres Ramirez, again, completely free by himself downfield.
Well, the Aussies are trying to be smart and sag and take off the pressure, but that's great diving stuff from McGuckin, trying to get the disc off of Ramirez. Mosquera now. Duque. It's a forward even. Mosquera giving and going. Ramirez to Cardenas. Forward on the far side. Doesn't have much in the way of movement. It's nice and easy to swing. Alba now making moves towards the end zone and then a point, and it's the break for Colombia.
Montaña with the score. Another late addition to the Colombian roster, the only one who wasn't present in Wrocław at the World Games 2017. Colombian fans going wild in the stands.
Yeah, clearly taking advantage of the sunny conditions here, and the Aussies give up another break. They are capable of fine things, but at the moment they haven't taken the disc off of Team Colombia.
So here is the break side throw that just didn't curve inbounds on time, and yeah, I think Kat Phillips definitely gained possession of that disc after she has left the field, meaning that she jumped out. Here the score for Montaña. She's had a few. It was pretty big defensively for Colombia earlier in the tournament too. We've seen breaks from both sides, I believe, so no problem for Australia to actually force another one.
Well, but that was the thing. It wasn't a forced break. It was off the bizarre, strange scenes of Andres Ramirez just dropping the Frisbee for no discernible reason in the centre of the field. The Aussies were able to convert off of that rather bizarre error. I don't think the Colombians are going to give them another gift like that.
Breeze is picking up again on the field, but it doesn't affect the pull by Duque.
Julep looking around a long time, but nice giving and going action with, I believe that's Prentice. Oh, a launch, a good recovery from McGuckin. Not sure that was exactly where he intended the disc to end up, but nice adjustment from the number 7. Big swing, well collected by Prentice. Has Phillips available the under. Opens up a huge backhand. The separation isn't there, but actually a stoppage perhaps, or just letting Andrews run free.
I think Duque just recognizing early that he will have no chance on that disc. We've been talking about the snap, the energy, the spice on the throws by Kat Phillips. Almost uncomfortable to catch, but you gotta do what you gotta do when it's in the end zone. And that one She just jacked that in. Duque with no chance. Given the speed of it, she winds up. Yeah, we see him give up. Placed perfectly into the far corner of the end zone. Score for Australia.
We have talked about the meaning of this game for seeding, going into the semi-finals bracket. This is not the time to run down, try and chase after Rob Andrews and pull something in your legs and put yourself out of contention for the business end of the tournament. So, not the most unintelligent thing to do. But of course, Rob Andrews, man of mystery, having not given us here in the booth any of the fun facts about his background. So, a bit of shade being thrown on you, Mr. Andrews, if you could give us some more information.
Kat Phillips with 1 goal and 1 assist in this game so far. Here we see her sister, Mish Phillips, preparing for the pole. The one that is the most familiar with this Colombian counterpart, having played in Colombia previously and joining the Revolution Club out of Medellin at WCC later on this summer.
The offside being called, I believe. Yes, indeed. So that means that the teams were not as they should be when the pool was released. But the Aussies now coming out with a zone look to try and generate a turnover for the Colombians. Dania. Ferrero even. The 96. Oh, look at that fake. Whole body turns around. And off to the races go the Colombians. Bit of a pause, Torres. Into Cartagena. Just giving and going across. We'll have to see it. Cardenas! Oh, the recatch, playing a bit of pinball with herself.
Wobble on the dribble.
Lovely inside from Cartagena. Ferrero thinks about it. Great stuff from Gan trying to shut that down. Oh, it's just an easy one. Sits and hangs. Well received by Andres Ramirez. A little bit of a gasp for Rob Andrews there, trying to get the block, but not to be, in a nice release for Colombia.
Andres Ramirez got into the past World Games as the youngest player for that team. He's actually pretty good and pretty fast. I'm not sure why Australia keep poaching off of him. In any case, he adds another one on the scoreboard for Colombia. Again, we saw that quick game. The Aussie zone not causing too much trouble. We only saw the little wobble that we're gonna get on the replay. I think it was Mish Phillips who got a hand on that, but nicely saved by the Colombians. Here the score. High grab by Andres Ramirez.
Well, I said a bit of pinball for 1, but clearly it's pinball for 2. I love that focus, though, to see the bobbled disc in the air and just be like, snaffle that. You can train that. There's a lovely game you can play called Flubberguts if you want to get involved by yourself, a ultimate disc, and work on those catches. Just sort of launch the disc at a partner and train those kind of clutch moments where the disc is flopping around. You have to get a snag for it. So, Australians offense coming out, seeing if they can hold this one. Trailing by that 1 break, the 2 score. So of course, this one, if it just went on serve, would go to the Colombians, as we see the 2 ladies running straight through the field. Phillips now can expand out away from Griffiths. And Griffiths launch now into Carr. Hot pressure from the defence. Winning the handset, a nice high one. Run down well by Egan Griffiths, just snags it by the fingertips. Prentice has the height advantage. Finds McGuckin. He's throwing relatively flat flicks straight in front of them to gain their yards up the field.
Here now.
Okay. A call downfield stops the play.
Minutes on McGuckin. Nice around break to Tulett. Being matched up by Ford, and it's a low one, but it's going to be well collected. Liv Carr going to ground to contain the disc and get the score for the Aussies.
That was a cheeky little inside throw by Tulett. If anyone can do it, it's him. Here is Lifkar. Also out of ellipsis. Also a doctor. She might be one of the youngest ones on the team. She gets low on that grab in the end zone. She's played for Australian U24 Stingrays. She was the captain, actually, when they got the silver medal. Her biggest fans are her mom and dad. She didn't play nationals this year because of COVID. So happy for her to be able to make it here to the World Games.
Well, that was a bizarre one. There were certain regions of Australia that were not allowed to turn up to nationals last season, which was a strange one because you and I are commentating from Europe with the time zone difference even. But local time, it is early morning in Perth, 6 a.m. presently. So if you're joining us from across the land down under, welcome. Nice to have you with us this fine day. But local time in Birmingham, Alabama, we're just coming up onto 5 o'clock. Getting confused by the 24-hour display. Colombia looking in charge of this match. Just the one unforced error so far. So many clean holds and clean breaks. Two Titan teams just jostling for position. As we see the disc being brought into the hands of Valeria Cardenas. Straight back to Torres. Dishing through. Just nice and easy. Oh, lovely find upfield. Cartagena pops across to Duque. One-on-one isolation in the end zone. Turns around. Wants to give the disc to Cartagena. Bit too much of a bump there. As the Aussies try and just stifle all of the options. Can't help but feel that positioning is a bit of a double team at the moment, but I think only one individual's trying to actively mark Cartagena.
Too much love for Cartagena. Both Tulet and Phillips trying to get a little bit of hugs.
And an uncontested foul, so the disc will go back 2-0 with Duque. So Cartagena, Phillips, the matchup in front of the disc. Plenty of players available that are sort of semi-poached off. Eventually finds Alba. Nice way to shut down the around. Cardenas. Which is back to Alba. Can they get the give and go? Nice peel off, but leaving the thrower wide open. And Torres with the goal. Fancy footwork. Way to keep that front foot in, Torres.
He's gonna give the disc a little cuddle. Look how happy she is. That will show them. That will show them. Saying that she might be too old to play the game.
She played absolutely fantastically in the Premier Ultimate League, one of the women's pro leagues in the States. Semi-pro anyway. All these athletes out here on the fields are actually, this is not their full-time job. They're not just athletes. They also do other things.
Let's see the replay. Big fake to one side, and then the score to the front of the end zone. Little cuddle by Torres. She has had 4 assists. Wow, that is absolutely huge. She adds 1 goal to her scoreboard. 5 total records in her stats. Excellent stuff.
So when it comes to flying disc sports, you tend to have individuals that tend to be specialists, because it's at World Championships you normally have a roster of 28 strong, whereas here at the World Games it's just 14. So there are not that many kind of, specialists here, but as a handler, it's always nice to get a score on your stats board every now and then, just to show you still can. So you see the pull coming out of Simon Ramirez. So Australia really looking to respond here. They need to get this hold first, as we see some isolation side stack action. Far side, McGuckin has Phillips available, going to take it. Cardenas trying to get the block. Losing position and an easy reception upfield. Nice behind that catch adjustment from Tulit. It's going to launch it for McGuckin. It's going to sit and hang. Can he get it inbounds? No, he cannot. Great pressure. Good work from the 56. Jose Jimenez, just to make sure that McGuckin can't do any sort of tip-toe-y type action.
Australia are really only going through the break side in this point. I thought they were going to make it all the way into the end zone. They do try to let eventually takes the outside lane rather than the inside one, and that one just doesn't count back inbounds. Timeout from Colombia called. They have a little laugh as Chulette is being stood up.
He got all dressed up. He put his best lipstick on. Well, this chap's definitely come out in his best outfit. Look at that flag skirt game. We love it. The enthusiasm. But, yeah, we'll take a brief pause for the adjustment for Colombia. This is a good opportunity for them. Golden. If they can put this one in, get themselves another break in the second half, it's going to be 1 point away from taking the game and that first place berth into semi-finals.
We will see some of the interesting and fun moments of this game so far.
And all off the hands of Tom Chulette. Delightful man. He's been having a heck of a game. Big arcing hammers, finding Prentice in the soft side of the field and then doing a very similar kind of move but with a completely different throw. An arcing sidearm flick to Cat Phillips.
Here's another ripper straight into the end zone. He had to do that twice, but it was a score at the end.
We love the play. So nice he did it twice. That reaching layout from Chulette. I think he actually appears in one of our advertisement stabs doing a similar thing when he played with Colony at the World Championships, those weird indoor lightning delayed games back in 2018. Nice low one there. Well received by Carr. But back in action, you see the man there on the force as the Colombians have a little sniff of a break. Can they put this one in? Cardenas, the lovely blue hair, the number 8. Having a little moment because there's a cool downfield. You can see the Colombians there holding hands on the sideline. A theme for their World Games teams is the phrase, I trust you, which is about trusting each other and trusting their opponents in this self-refereed sport. Cardenas, oh, she goes for the saucy inside, but the big gloved hands of Chulette pick it off. Moving across now. This is just an offensive hold for the Australians, but they're going to have to go to business. And an errant throw is going to, in the same spot as last time. That final error, the bit of end zone eyes, give the disc to the Colombians.
Simon Ramirez picks up for Colombia. They immediately go the other way. Manu.
Looking around a little bit lost for options. Mosquera there, though, poached off. Again, we've said some of the players for the Colombian side really do have a preference, and Mosquera is one of those people you cannot allow to get deep of you. You can see the respect that Cat Phillips is giving her as Ford has the momentum at the far side, but you can see that small ball, quick movement style ultimate. And holding on a long time. Mosquera again far side. Oh, Phillips has a little think about the bid. Quite the right position to take that one away from the Colombians. Cardenas fighting on the sideline. Taking the disc away from Egan Griffiths. Nice around break off of such a large mark. And Mosquera again just being sagged off by Cat Phillips. Giving and going. What a nice inside find across the field. Jimenez moving nicely. Oh, and it's going to be the goal for Colombia. Montaña with the score, and they are putting themselves within one of closing out this match and taking top spot in Pool B.
Colombian women just having themselves a heck of a game. Montaña with a second goal score for herself. We've already mentioned Aleja Torres having one of her best games with 5 points total on the stats board. We even saw her score a goal, even though she's usually on the assisting side. And Colombia trusting themselves to win this game, looking spotless.
We've said this game is not the must-win opportunity, but that is the first moment there. Tom Chulette taking the disc away from the Colombians. Unfortunately, we had 2 unforced errors from the Aussie side, and then hot work from Colombia. Montaña getting the goal. And as I say, it's very close to them closing this one out. It's It's going to be all the work to do for the Aussies. But this is not necessarily the moment in your tournament where you really want to have that injection of nitrous oxide into your players, because it is all still to play for. This one just about deciding who they're going to play against. The victors will face off against the second seed in Pool A, which is likely to be a North American team. Well, actually, certainly to be a North American team. It's just a case of which one, the USA or Canada. I'm sure you'll want to stay tuned in to this stream for the next game, because that will be the decider after the US not having the best start to this tournament. But focusing on the action in front of us, huge play seems for the Colombian defense, trying to get the disc off of the Australians. A lot of contact there. I think we might see a foul being called.
Duque with his arms open. Seems like a foul was called a few passes back.
It was definitely a collision with Prentice.
I don't know if I have to
If you stop.
or it stays there. So there is a stoppage, but the question is when was play affected? All right, and you have to determine that when play was affected.
Did you not get up off the ground as quick as you could?
Yes, I completely stayed in my position.
Okay, then I guess play stops here. I kept going, but if you stopped, then I guess play stops here.
We'll see a replay of the situation. They tripped over each other. Duque kind of trying to make sure that Prentice was okay.
So,
The players do have the possibility
where's the
to have a look at the replay. Use the video
It's up to you,
analysis
but
as
sure.
well.
That's fine.
But it seems like there will be a clear agreement on where the disc should go. It will stay with Gan.
Wally Kwong there, the game advisor in the green shirt, just alongside to help compare these games. Of course, being self-refereed. Oh, the big fake off the hand of Garo Ma. Been having a wonderful tournament. But a injury replacement for Kat Phillips at times when she's taken a clattering. Need to come off the field. Oh, and what a lovely redemption grab for Australia. Carr keeping the disc alive. And an over-the-top cheeky break, and the Australians keep themselves in this game at least one more point.
As a fan of tight ultimate, tight games, I am so happy for the Aussies to reel this one in. But I have to call out Alex Prentice on her travels. We've seen it on the replays. We've seen it in this point again. I think she can do better. I think she can deliver those throws without moving her foot. Maybe it hasn't given her too much of an advantage, but I see it over and over again on the video, unfortunately. Julette with impressive 6 assists in this game.
Oh yeah, that young man is on fire. He's brought some twigs, a little bit of a fire starter. But that was a lovely over the top. Let's get another look at that score. Huge scenes from Liv Carr. Full stretch, single-handed grab to keep the slightly errant pass away. A nice little elevator release for the goal. Woof.
The sidelines getting really loud as we tune in into another game point by Colombia, raising their arms up together with their sideline. They trust their teammates on the pitch to bring this game home.
Well, at the moment, it is advantage Colombia. Can they sink this one in? They've been nigh on flawless so far this game. The form that they have been pretty much all tournament. So dominant here in Pool B. Is it all streaming under? Oh, nice find, Valeria Cardenas. Doesn't deserve to take the big one. Oh, that's going to be redemption for Ford. Yes, it is, after the overthrow for Torres. So close to closing this one out now. Cantor finding Forero. Oh, and it's going to be a shot for Truss, but Rob Andrews closes the door and says, no, you're not getting a cheeky one that easy. Egan Griffiths now, no mark. More on Phillips. Doing some double duty here. Oh, I think there might be It is Mish Phillips. They look so similar, but power braids for the number 17, known by Snail, their Frisbee nickname.
Colombians sagging on the defense.
I got excited talking about it. So Andrews put a scuba grip on, which you love to see. Ball coming in, doesn't manage to put off Latamados. Nice high releasey, bladey backhand into the path of Andrews. Latamados. Oh, he's going to open up a huge blade for the goal. It's a break for Australia. They bring themselves ever closer and take a point away from the offensive line that's been so good for the Colombian side.
Andrews absolutely unstoppable in the end zone. He gets huge one more time. We've talked about verticality, and they are not afraid to use it. He grew up in Sydney, moved to Melbourne, Ellipsis now, his home team in Australia. We see the nice layout save by Ford, and the great read of the game by Andrews. Andrews with a bookends, goes by the nickname of Bobo. Last time I checked, he was reading The Inner Game of Tennis in the Ellipsis book club. But he learned a thing or two about reading for sure.
Oh, The Inner Game of Tennis, what an absolute read.
And Rob Andrews does have a younger brother. His name is Dave, also plays for Sunder, but he's still on his way up. Not quite the world game squat material yet.
Well, maybe one to watch for the future. It is lovely to see some of the newer additions to the Aussie roster for the Crocs this season, kind of just coming in and merging nicely. They've had a good tournament so far, and we're very excited that we're going to get more coverage of both of these teams as they play through the semi-final bracket. But can it go right down to the wire? We asked for 25 points. Fans of Colombia will be hoping that they can put together the magic and close this one out. Not that much jeopardy, not that much at stake, but let's see what's going to emerge in this point as we see the reset going back.
Phillips so big on the mark there on Cartagena.
Absolutely, so it's an all-star lineup trying to get the block outside Ramirez. Popping it back to his brother, actually, the other Ramirez. Bit of sibling love. Oh, a lovely find in Duque and a lovely shot to connect with him. Pops it up, Cardenas. Cartagena. Ramirez. Is it going to be an easy one for Manu? Yes, it is! Manuela Cardenas over the layout of the defence. A goal and the game for Colombia. They will take the top seed to face the North Americans. And the Aussies will have to play against the Germans, who are in inimitable form at this tournament. What a way to close that one out, Rahel.
Let's have a look at the replay. Colombians absolutely clear. Aussies pressure slowing down towards the end of the point, and here is Manu kissing the disc, kicking it up in the air as the Colombians take the game. We now see the teams lining up for a circle of high fives before they enter their so-called spirit circle to discuss the game.
But what a great way to finish us out. Mish Phillips with a full stretch layout attempt. I love the facial expression. Not that upset because, of course, both teams are advancing to semi-finals, but they still want it. And both sides were active and aggressive in this game. Smiles all around. Such joy and enjoyment of this sport. Tom Tulip has to be my player of the match, having an absolute stormer with those huge throws, just opening up the field. But the Colombian women doing an excellent job as well. That huge flick from Valeria Cardenas. But great scenes all round. We'll look forward to seeing both these sides in the business end of this tournament. Action of that tomorrow. But the final pool play match yet to be determined which North American will be in the top four. All still to play for. Hill on the fields in Alabama. But the Colombians best it 13-11 over Australia.
How lucky were we to witness just an unbelievable showcase of ultimate Frisbee. 13-11, Colombia takes down Australia in a game with so few mistakes, so many remarkable plays. A game where great offense beat great defense, and the drama stayed with us through the very end. 24 goals, 9 turnovers, 4 turns for Colombia. They look like the best team we've seen so far in the tournament.
I'm not going to hedge anymore. It's time. They are the best team here. That D-line offense is the difference. They just seem unstoppable. Your O-line has just turned it. They've worked so hard. And then they have to chase the Colombian team all around the outside. Give and go. Your handler defenders are just giving up free resets. They're hitting up through the middle of the field. You just lose your mind.
And they're so happy to work tirelessly for as many throws as it takes. Let's not discount what Australia did to try and keep themselves in the game. They had some fantastic looks today, but it just wasn't quite enough for what Colombia had in their back pocket. Throws like from Valeria Cardenas looked like it was turbo boosted right outside the end zone.
How about the game for 43-year-old Aleja Torres, the oldest player competing at the World Games? She had half a dozen assists. And look, Cartagena and Valeria Cardenas, Australia tried a lot of different things, and the Aussies played a great game. They just could not dispossess the Colombians more than a couple times.
The Colombians kept switching who was the person, especially on their O-line, to make the plays. Simon Ramirez realized in the second half of that game, hey, you're leaving me and Andres open? Well, I'm going to show you that I can absolutely rip cord too.
I was particularly impressed with Simon Ramirez the second half. Like I said, everyone working so tirelessly. He was cutting fiercely in the second half to keep things moving and just obliterate the Australian defense.
It was 12-9 Colombia, a hold made it 12-10, and then they did get just their second break of the game on this insane catch. Lada Manas to Andrews, taking the elevator to the top floor, but in the end, Manuela Cardenas had a relatively quiet game by her standards, but nothing quiet about the emphatic punt spike to close it out. So Colombia, as Hannah said, will meet the North American survivor between USA and Canada. That game is coming up in 40 minutes, and we can't wait to get you to the opening pull of that one. But first, plenty more of Colombia-Australia conversation. I mean, this is just a beautiful statue.
If you are watching this game, this is the highest level of the sport. 9 turnovers total in the game. We had seen that many turnovers in a single point.
Australia's 5 turns, the fewest anybody has had in the tournament coming into this game, except Colombia had 1 fewer in this game.
I think Australia can absolutely feel great about whoever they cross over against. They have an end zone set that is very difficult to match, with McGuckin and Andrews receiving those moon shots. They're just unstoppable and easy to find in the end zone.
Wow. So Australia, as the 2 seed in the pool, will take on Germany. And, I mean, that's a fascinating game to start thinking about as well, because there's not a ton of familiarity between those 2 countries. Germany's first World Games appearance in 2005. Can't imagine Australia came into the tournament thinking that Germany was going to win the pool with USA and Canada. And the other semifinal tomorrow will be either Colombia or USA and Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that matchup's going to be interesting to take on already. There's a height advantage, shockingly, for the Australians. It's not something that you would say most of the time about German Ultimate. But this Germany is really focused on working through their women, working through their strong handler play, and possessing the disc. So they can probably combat a lot of the Australian height.
And here's one of the things that impressed me most about Australia's effort today is how about the different defensive looks we saw that were clearly designed explicitly for Colombia. The zone that they put on with the male matching players encircling the disc, the cross-gender matchups they wrote up. Ultimately it didn't notch them the win. The force middle, all of those different looks, they were like, this is what we're going to try, and they executed it really, really well, all things considered. I think that we're going to see a similar high level of intellect going into tomorrow's defensive matchups, and I am thrilled to see what the coaching staff has in mind to combat Germany's very strong performance thus far.
Well, I think the teams that are left here, you just talked about coaching. I mean, Germany, obviously very well coached, very well prepared here. Colombia and Australia just showed how incredibly well coached they are. Mauricio for Colombia and Anna Rogacki for Australia. My goodness, is she amazing.
Is Colombia a comfortable favorite in your mind, regardless who they face in the semifinals tomorrow?
Yes.
I would also agree. I mean, watching the offensive line be unflappable against everything nuanced and different that Australia was putting up, I mean, that, in my mind, they are the clear favorites as well.
They had 4 turnovers for the game, and one of them was when the disc just flipped out of Andres Ramirez's hands. They really only had the disc taken away from them 3 times. Incredibly dramatic ultimate here at the World Games and the pinnacle of this sport, without question. We're going to take a quick break and then be joined by the godfather of Colombian ultimate, the man who went to the Pacific Northwest in the late 2000s and the late aughts to learn the sport, brought Americans down to Medellin to influence the growth and development of youth ultimate. Mauricio Moore, the architect of Team Colombia, joins us here in Birmingham after the break. Back here in Birmingham, the fans were just treated to an ultimate spectacle with Colombia taking down Australia, and now we are treated to the most famous hat in ultimate, with all due respect to Tom Styles. Mauricio Moore, the coach of Team Colombia, 3-0 through pool play, an ultimate display that we were hoping to see. What can you say about your team's performance against Australia over the past couple hours?
Okay, first thing is to say thank you, not just to the 14 players, because we have a lot of people who came to be in the stands, to do logistics, to do all of that kind of things that no one used to notice. Like, you know, you always see the people who score or the guy who make a beautiful throw, but we got a lot of people around helping us, making the team get closer, have fun. So I want to say thank you to those guys. And to the players, I think it was a beautiful game. I think Australia played a fantastic game also, and it was more part of like touches.
Mauricio, one of the things that I think is so fascinating about Colombia is how long of a journey you have been on to get to the world stage and to perform at a high level. For the uninitiated, take us through a quick history of the birth and development of Colombian Ultimate.
Yeah, it's fantastic, you know, because our first tournament, it was 2006 in Devons. That was World Junior, and we were like basically trying to learn a little bit, and we got third. So from that time, I said, like, okay, we can make it. And we started training a lot beyond the athleticism. I mean, we have Latin American people are super fast. They move fast, but we work in a mental way, because it's so hard to train at a high level if you don't have high-level competition as you have in U.S. or in Canada. You have tons of teams and tons of tournaments. So I think one of the most incredible things that we develop as a country is how we play mental. So I think that's true. And, you know, a couple of years, we get a lot of kids who start with us from a 9th, like the twins. They started playing Ultimate Frisbee at 9 years old. Gina and Lisa started 15 in the team. So we have been doing this little step-by-step. And I think right now, Colombia, it's a really, and not just those kids, those girls, like a lot of the Colombian people is really getting a new step on.
So I found that chemistry, that cohesion is very clear. I mean, such to the point, you're even calling out force middle. I hear Casa, yeah? Like I hear you all, zero for flat, right? Like, yeah?
Yeah.
I heard your team in unison singing that. I have never heard a team sing that in unison on the sideline.
Okay.
Tell us, like, how else do you see those bits of chemistry in your offensive, your defensive styles on the field too?
Okay, a lot of those things I learned from my old school guys, from Ben Wiggins, from Idaho, from Chase Sparling when I was in SoCal. So I love them, and they gave me a lot. Like first time I went in the Worlds, I was in the line, and people were saying like hum, away. I was like, what's going on? And then I get one of those guys, like I think it was Chase.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that? It's like, we're forcing middle. Like, oh, what is that? And I started learning that thing, and then we try to adapt to our culture. We're so loud. We're so like kind of a Latin style. So it's like, let's sing it. Okay, let's make boys like unite boys. So I think that's happened a lot, and it was the game was pretty close, and it was like we tried several defense, and I was like, what about we do forcing middle? That's so old school. Let's do that, and I think it works a lot, and then we just get 2 more breaks.
You had 6 turnovers yesterday against the Japanese, none in the second half. You had 4 turnovers against the Australians. Those are 2 of the 3 lowest totals in the first 11 games of the tournament.
Wow.
What have you been most pleased by with what your team has done?
Well, I think we got this thing in our in our brain. It's like we used to think about defense and offense. Like most of the time, like teams used to think about we got to go D or O, and we said like that's weird. No, I mean every point you had to score. Like you every point you had a chance to score. So even if you're going D, you're basically recovering the distance score. You don't have the mentality just to be defense. So I'm so happy and pleased because all those guys are super mental. Every time they get into the fields, they know how to score, and they're trying to do the best. So I think moving fast disc and trying to have that mentality all the time is one of the big clues on that.
One of the things we have been joking about amongst ourselves is how every time we watch you play, we're having to highlight someone else because it's so great to watch different Colombian players step up. Yesterday we were singing Valeria's praises, and today Ale Torres was just tearing it up. 4 assists in the first half, 1 goal in the second half. What is it like for you as a coach to watch someone just take over, and to what do you attribute that?
Okay, actually just right before the comment here, it's like, oh God, I have a lot of time. Like, it's so good to have fun. At the same time, you're stressed. You have a lot of stress, like every point. But then it's so fun to watch those guys playing. And the most important thing is watching them having that battle against themselves. Because that's our main thing. It's not about the opponent. Most of the time, they don't even remember who was guarding them. They're trying to beat themselves. What I'm saying, beat themselves, is like what? Like, there's, for example, a guy who is like super scared of cut. Like every time he want to cut, like he just got that this. Like just go through it. Like if you get scared because of your hammer or whatever, like that battle inside of a team, not yelling the guy behind, not just frustrating. All of that battles are the things that I have more happiness when I coach him, seeing that thing happen. And I think all of those guys are doing a super great job.
We saw a willingness to do cross-gender matchups on defense. Was that part of the plan, or was it something else that you guys were doing?
I'm not gonna say it. Okay. Here's the thing.
So yes, it was.
Okay, you know. Okay.
A tip of the hat.
Yes, it was. No, actually, it's I'm not gonna say if it's part of a strategy, but I'm gonna say we're practicing that every single time. I mean, we're practicing the mismatch, way to like the flow of a mismatch. That's something that you have to be prepared for, and that's something that you can use for in a game which is mixed. If you bring a zone, at some point you're going to be a mismatch. Like it's so hard to just like be like in the same match. So I would say we train a lot that, and we're having fun. And the good thing, I think our players are doing a great job doing that thing. Like Alejo was guarding a super tall guy. I was like, oh God, he's gonna go deep. It's like, and then they communicate, they switch each other, and it was like, and everyone like everything was set it up.
We could ask you questions for the next 3 hours, but we got to give our crew a short break before we get into pregame for USA Canada. So before we get into pregame for USA Canada, give us your pregame thoughts on USA Canada. You face the winner tomorrow.
Don't do that. Okay. Oh God. Okay. This is hard. Seriously, this is hard because we saw to play those teams, these 2 teams playing before this tournament. We saw the performance they have been. We know their like weakness, but at the same time, we know how strong they are. Like how strong is Canada, how strong is U.S. In my perspective, it's going to be a super tie game. It's going to be universe point. Okay, that's my prediction. And whoever is on the D is going to win.
Oh,
You got the
On a
team
universe
pulling,
line.
winning on
Great
universe.
win.
Okay, let's see what happens.
That's spicy stuff
Let's go.
from Mauricio Moore, the head coach of Team Colombia, the winner of Pool B here at the 2022 World Games. Mauricio, congratulations, felicitaciones, muchas gracias, amigo, hasta luego.
Thank you very much for you guys.
Mauricio Moore joining us here. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back about 15 minutes before the top of the hour to get you set for USA and Canada to finish off pool play here at the 2022 World Games. But for now, for Mauricio, Daryl, and Megan, I'm Evan saying so long. Talk to you in just a few here from Birmingham. Thank you for watching this exclusive World Flying Disc Federation coverage of the World Games. On behalf of our entire crew in Madrid and everyone here in Birmingham, Alabama, I'm Evan Lepler. This has been a copyrighted presentation of the International World Games Association in conjunction with the Olympic Channel and the World Flying Disc Federation.